Right. So in the last one, I gave the example of justifying spending £1 million for a recovery solution in a very, very different way, rather than, oh, we need recovery because scary things can still happen despite the 10 million a year we're already spending. It's, hey, this will allow us to drive change. This will create a safety net where I can reallocate resource. It'll create a safety net where I can do some more radical change, and if the change is disruptive, we can recover more quickly, so there's less resistance, less hesitancy, and that will allow me to drive savings in our existing operations rather than you know, arbitrary risk numbers, maybe reducing the cost of a breach. And that works very well because you are literally you're touching tangible figures that are on a balance sheet today. And that just made me think of a simple point. I think it's really important. A few years ago, started reading about marketing, finance, HR, how these things work. And it's quite helpful to put yourself in the head of those specific people. The finance argument, the actual monetary on paper today gain, as opposed to the arbitrary risk figure that executives don't understand, works really well. But you can take it to a next level because, oh gosh, I forget the name of the article. Like, no one cares about profit because ultimately people are self-serving, right? If I save money, I save money, but not everyone is as interested or as altruistic as you might be in saving money, so they might not necessarily care. But if you make it about them, then it becomes more interesting. So the more you read about how an HR functions, how the sales process functions, how finance functions, how operations or engineering functions, the more you can tailor arguments that speak directly to them. Even like a CFO, you would think, oh, they're all about money. If I send an email saying, hey, I can save you some money, I've got some ideas for some cost efficiencies, whatever, great. If I write the CFO an email and say, hey, I have a way to positively impact your quarterly EBITDA report, that is an actual task that he or she has to do, that is very relevant to them, that they want to look good, and that will get a much higher response rate than just saving money. It's the same thing, but because you've made it relevant to a particular activity of theirs, it gets a lot more traction. And so I really encourage everyone to just read like a book. It's a couple hundred pages of how every department in your organizations work, because it's fantastic also for engagement, because one thing I'll talk about next is how to create programs. I think a big part of programs is you have to engage with every department. You have to understand what business processes and systems and data people are using, and the more you know about what it is they're doing, you'd be surprised. You're like, techie people, IT, and you start talking to them about, oh, you understand our manufacturing supply chain. Oh, I wasn't expecting that. And the amount of times I've walked into organizations and people are by default hostile to security, and that is because the perception of security in general maybe, but usually the perception that the security team has, usually inadvertently, given to those departments. And when you come in and you show an actual interest and understanding of what it is they do and try to help them optimize, the things that matter to them specifically, it takes all of the time to drink a cup of coffee to completely change that attitude towards the security department, and get people to really become allies and collaborate. I remember doing this at University of Salford with some departments, and then they are calling us up, letting us know about things going on in other departments that they thought we might find interesting. So that's a really, really powerful way of amplifying the engagement, the response rate to your requests, to your communications. Cheers.